Hello friends, today I want to tell you a story about a very mystical, mysterious and enigmatic place, a still unconquered peak. In the west of the Tibetan Plateau, 200 kilometers from the border with Nepal, there is an amazing mountain that looks like a pyramid. All attempts of foreigners to conquer it ended in complete failure. Trouble befell the climbers either immediately during the ascent or after unsuccessful attempts to climb to the top. For example, as it happened to the expedition in the late 90s, all members of which in just a couple of years turned into decrepit old men and died of unknown diseases. The name of this mountain, Kyus, in other dialects Kailash, its height has a mystical figure of 6,666 meters. Ancient manuscripts say, "No mortal dares to ascend Kyus, where the gods dwell. Whoever sees the faces of the gods must die." And researchers believe that there is no place on Earth more mysterious and unexplored than Mount Kyus. If you've heard that someone once climbed Kyus, don't believe it. No one ever has climbed to the top of this mountain. By mountaineering standards, it's not such an insurmountable height, and yet no one has. One of the participants of the 2006 expedition, in an interview, said all the legends say that the mountain throws people off. I don't know a single group, I don't know a single person who's tried to climb Kyus. Something stops them. Now that's an unusual mountain, and I've traveled really all over the East. There's nothing like it. If there's any place on the planet that's most unusual, this is it. As recently as 5 centuries ago, for the natives of India and China, Tibet was considered forbidden territory. Without special initiations and mysteries, ordinary mortals are forbidden to come here, because according to ancient beliefs, the spirits of the dead reign here. Modern travelers trying to conquer Kyus told that at the mountain, many have to face inexplicable phenomena, which at first it is difficult to believe. Approaching the foot, a person physically feels a certain boundary that is impossible to cross. But imagine coming out of a warm room into the cold. It is something like that, but only as if there is a certain boundary in front of you. It is physically tangible. That is, as if something more dense, as if it is a more pressurized area. And so when you cross it back and forth several times, you feel physically similar border each time. You are walking and suddenly you feel so good you just want to fly. At the same time you stop, and not that you can't, but you don't want to move your arms or legs at all. That is, it causes physical pain. Right at the foot of Kyus, visions begin. People hear thundering sounds. The voice of a person who is standing nearby is heard for several kilometers. Another interesting phenomenon is that the tongue refuses to speak. A person wants to say, and he, as if inside himself, pronounces a phrase, but cannot really pronounce it. In religious terms, it is interpreted that the spirits have put a seal of silence on you while you are there, and sometimes people utter some incoherent sounds, as if they speak some unknown ancient languages. Natives explain the fluctuations in the well-being of a person who is near the mountain, a special divine force that emanates from the mountain, but scientists and physicians express their assumptions. They believe that it is an admixture of nitric oxide in the air that acts as a relaxing gas. People who find themselves in a state of oxygen deprivation always experience some unusual condition, as when climbing to a great height. For example, above 4,000 meters there are visual, auditory, sometimes even tactile sensations which people describe according to their previous experience. Another unusual phenomenon that cannot be explained by scientists is a mysterious glow in the sky observed in the area of Mount Kyus. It occurs quite often in the east in the evening hours and consists of red, white and blue circles similar to ball lightning which rise from the horizon. But the most mysterious thing is the shape this intense illumination takes. These aren't just ball lightnings, they follow some sort of specific algorithm. They can link up in completely different combinations. But the most interesting combination, it's just that ancient symbol that we talk about all the time, it's the swastika. Researchers have always looked at Tibet with keen interest. With the processes going on in the world, this interest only intensified, especially for the Third Reich. On the eve of World War II, the Germans sent expedition after expedition to Tibet. They were looking for this country in order to get unusual knowledge, and including Hitler sent expeditions exactly for acquisition of knowledge of immortality and power, unusual abilities of people. The Nazi top brass understood perfectly well that world domination could only be achieved through a powerful technological breakthrough. In 1939, the famous Tibetan expedition returned to Germany. Berlin eagerly awaited the expedition's report. It was possible that the Nazi expedition had deciphered the mysterious runic tablets with incomprehensible writings brought back from Tibet. One of the results of the decipherment was the creation of so-called technological apparatuses. Drawings describing the principles of operation have been preserved. They depict vortex streams of particles which are now more often called torsion fields. These fields could not only lift flying machines but also interact with humans. They are based on the properties of the effects of torsional fields on matter. From a sharp increase in the conductivity of metals to the therapeutic effect in medicine, including the transmission of coded information to the brain, which causes various behavioral reactions. Maybe this is the reason for the unexplained phenomena that tourists so often encounter near Mount Kyus. On the south side of the pyramidal peak, the faces of which are oriented exactly on the sides of the world, there is a vertical crack, crossed in the middle by a horizontal one. At sunset, this crack and shadows from rocky ledges form huge images of a giant solar sign. Geomorphologists, i.e. specialists in the study of rocks, believe that the crack that creates the image of the swastika is not a crack at all, but a depression about 40 meters wide deepened by drains. Near the mountain are two lakes, Manasarovar and Rakshastal. These lakes, like everything around the mountain, are rife with many mysteries. Manasarovar is a sacred lake, shallow, and fish are found there. The second lake is 5 kilometers away. There is a narrow sandy isthmus without mountains. It is called Rakshastal Lake or Lake of Demons. The curious thing is that at any time of the year, Lake Manasarovar is calm. At any time of the year, Lake Rakshastal is stormy. Researchers went from one lake to another, watched getting to Lake Rakshastal storm, went back as far as Lake Manasarovar calm. Amazing. Another unusual observation was made by a group of scientists. While the explorers were waiting for permission to visit the holy mountain, the expedition leader happened to meet a monk named Aaron, who showed him one mysterious photograph of Mount Kyus from an unusual angle. The head of the expedition looked at it and immediately cried out, "So it is a pyramid." And he remembered a story that said that somewhere in Tibet a huge pyramid was lost. The head of the expedition did not take long to realize his rather bold assumption. Returning from the expedition, he makes a sensational statement. The mountains located in the southwestern part of Tibet are not mountains at all. Several dozens of pyramids located next to each other and clearly oriented on the sides of the world. Thus, Tibetan pyramids are much larger than Egyptian and Mexican pyramids, and probably have been constructed in more ancient times. The hypothesis turned out to be interesting, and some scientists even tried to support it. In all form, it is a pyramid of gigantic dimensions. Here, unfortunately, this pyramid is poorly measured, but its pyramidality is not doubted by anyone. I do not know works of geomorphologists which would show that by means of all kinds of processes, tectonic processes, it is possible to form a correct pyramid. Pyramids, as were, so remain mysteries of mankind for what they were constructed. Pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, China, and finally Kyus. If we accept this hypothesis, the mysterious mountain in Tibet is of artificial origin. Many researchers believe that they were structures where energy was stored. We have found that they are, of course, great supersensitive detectors not only of seismic fields, as I said, but also of acoustic fields which may have a cosmogonic origin. The main difference between the Tibetan pyramids and other similar structures is that most of them are not interlocked with various sized, concave, semicircular, flat stone structures that some researchers call mirrors. To say that this is natural weathering can only be said by a layman who doesn't believe in anything. The size of the Tibetan mirrors is enormous. For example, the structure that local lamas call the House of the Lucky Stone is almost 800 meters high. To the north, this mirror is adjoined by another mirror, a semicircular one about 350 meters high. The south side of the House of the Lucky Stone is connected to another concave mirror 700 meters high. Tibetan mirrors. This is an analog of Nikolai Kozyrev's mirrors. The Soviet scientist invented semicircular and other shapes of metal mirrors, inside which, according to his research, the course of time changes. As the scientist explained, time is an energy that can contract or stretch. In Kozyrev's mirrors, the effect of time compression was achieved. Interestingly, people who have been inside Kozyrev's mirrors noted dizziness, fear, see flying saucers, see themselves in childhood, find answers to many questions. Isn't it the same process of time compression that takes place in Tibet? After all, this is what many tourists and pilgrims who have been near Kyus talk about. For some people it slows down, and for others, on the contrary, it becomes faster. And then all the cells of the body begin to age and die earlier. However, the readings of the devices that record time at the same time correspond to the norm. We conducted special experiments, laid chronometers in different places, checked them with GPS readings. The chronometers were special. They were then removed after 6 months to check synchronization, whether the time was not accelerated somewhere. No, we couldn't get that kind of data. Such pyramidal constructions, Tibetan pyramids, according to researchers, are able to concentrate various kinds of energy, and combination with mirrors of time changes spatial and temporal characteristics. If this is true, it is possible to assume that the mountain in Tibet, as well as other pyramids on Earth, is an artificial object built by someone once and for a certain purpose. If we allow hypotheses about their artificial origin or the influence of the artificial on their formation or on their genesis, then we can assume that earlier civilizations did it. How could these have been sharpened? These step mirrors, how could they have been made? Here are these mirrors stepped and most different. How could these stone palaces have been created? The most natural stone palaces without windows, without doors. By the way, if we build a scheme and connect all known to us pyramids on the planet, we will see that they are geographically connected with each other. And if we connect by meridian Kyus with Egyptian pyramids, the continuation of this line leads to Easter Island. On this meridian there are also famous pyramids of Inkas. It is hardly a simple coincidence. From Mount Kyus to Stonehenge Monument in England, 6,666 kilometers. From Mount Kyus to the North Pole, 6,666 kilometers. From Mount Kyus to the South Pole, 2 times 6,666 kilometers. On the opposite side of Mount Kyus, there is Easter Island, where there are incomprehensible statues. Further, what is most curious, the height of Mount Kyus is 6,666 meters. 4 sixes. This is another mystery of the construction of Mount Kyus, which is constantly stirring the minds of those who are trying to unravel the mystery of the sacred mountain. No less mysterious is the Nandu sarcophagus. It is almost 2 kilometers long, 800 meters high and 300 meters wide, and it is connected by a special tunnel called the Serdan Pass. It is a pass to be crossed during the inner crust. This pass, this tunnel, is the roof of the tunnel that connects Kyus to the sarcophagus of Nandu. The existence of the sarcophagus, like everything in Tibet, has given rise to a host of legends, controversy, and conjecture. One legend says that here, in a state of deep meditation, are the bodies of Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and other great teachers who have ever been sent to the world. Their encrypted teachings are also stored here. All this is hidden for posterity, to serve as the genetic code for human reproduction in the event of civilization's demise. How will that happen? It is difficult to imagine, as well as difficult to believe, that the bodies of great teachers living thousands of years ago remained unchanged. The 6th race, according to ancient legends, ancient books, is maturing just in Tibet. Mount Kyus is another ovum of the planet, as the ancients said, in which this civilization matures. Is it so? And where is the gene pool of mankind? Is it possible to find it? There are no answers to such questions yet, but according to some scientists, the sacred mountain Kyus is hollow inside. Many monuments of the legendary city of gods are hollow inside. It is written about it in Tibetan texts. Pilgrims claim that this is where the door to Shambala should be. Shambala is a mythical country which, according to legends, is located somewhere in the Tibetan mountains, but where exactly is unknown. It gives rise to more and more new versions pointing to various mountain peaks. It is possible that one of these turned out to be Mount Kyus. Many researchers claim to have seen a supposed entrance to a mysterious land here. This door they described looks something like this: 150 meters by 200 meters. It's a huge door, such a notch flat, with a rectangular notch and a rectangular notch on the other side, adjacent to the mountain, as if cut out. There you just have to read a spell, which now no one knows, and the door itself will open. In legends, it is often said about multi-kilometer underground passages with a stone door at the end, no one and never open. The passages are protected from uninvited guests by poisonous gases and force fields. Behind the stone door in the cave are hidden secrets for the future, but the deadlines for them have not yet come. The entrance is very sharp, but then it widens and leads to an entire underground city. The unknown builders apparently calculated that access to the underground city would be possible when humans reached another level of technology. Modern science is only trying to make impotent attempts to unravel the mysteries of Tibet. The mountain changes somehow your goal. Here you are going, you know what you are going for and why. You are prepared well, physically and spiritually. You know what you have to say and do, and suddenly your goal changes in your mind. That's when you say to yourself, what is this for? Shouldn't I do this? This is a perverse desire. I shouldn't go there. I should go back. And you go down, and then you go through some kind of time jump again. You think, my God, why did I go back? I was already walking so well. I was so well prepared. That's what happens. How this goal changes the setting in your head, it's hard to say. The ancients said that on every hair of the Buddha there are more worlds than we see stars in the sky. Infinite is the world that surrounds us. Obviously, the unraveling of the phenomenon of Tibet lies still beyond our understanding, but we can well assume that the ancient monks did not hide in caves blueprints of future flying machines and stored in the snowy peaks of Tibet something more. Could Kailas be only a spiritual destination, something man can take, something man can touch, but some knowledge can't? In this physical world, no, man cannot. His mind is not ready. Man cannot realize this truth. The mystery of Tibet is within ourselves. It is that originally for which every man lives for what he wants. Man asks himself constantly the question, what am I living for? What is all this for? Many people visit Tibet and discover all this. Perhaps time will pass and Mount Kyus will reveal its secrets, and then we will understand the mysterious words of the Tibetan lamas. When you reach the top of the mountain, keep climbing further. Whatever you think about this story, write in the comments below this clip. Don't forget to put a like, subscribe to this channel not to miss new interesting stories. Recommend this channel to your friends, they will probably be interested too.